And I'm gonna start us right off, okay? So like we're gonna get to introductions and what we're doing in just a bit, but I want to actually just get right into it. And so I'm gonna share, and then we're gonna pick up with the movie Most Likely to Succeed. Let me get a quick sort of. I got you pinned right now, Ben. Let me unpin you and see the whole room. So thumbs up if you have watched Most Likely to Succeed in the past. It's in, if you have not, if anyone in here has not, it is available in our What School Could Be Academy page inside the community. So, and the whole movie is there for free. What School Could Be community generally asks that we not share that link out too broadly. So if we could just ask you all to just use it for your own internal purposes and not go put it out on Twitter and say, hey, look, it's free now. That would be awesome. But that movie is there. And so we are going to start with that very place where that movie really begins.
My daughter had always been a good student, always loved school.
Wait a second, hold on. I think my YouTube has gone low. Did you guys hear it okay, Ben, or was it really low?
It was pretty quiet, yeah. Did you
Yeah.
tick that like share device audio box when you shared screen too?
I did indeed, but
Okay.
I had the music
All right.
turned down for our jazz.
Okay.
Let me put it back up, and hopefully with the music back up.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
My daughter had always been a good student, always loved school. Then suddenly in the 4th grade, just kind of quit. She just wasn't interested anymore. She'd struggle to get out of bed, she'd fake being sick. Getting her to complete her homework was a total battle. It's as if, almost overnight, she'd decided school wasn't for her. After she brought home a bad score on a math test, we requested a meeting with her teacher.
Well, my concern is when she comes home, for example, this math test brought it up again, which is she pulls up the math test, okay, what did you do wrong? And she seems to have absolutely no idea. I know her well enough to where she's testing is
not where she should
way
be.
below. One of the things I've just been thinking about is, you know, we had a very frank talk the other night before she fell asleep, and I don't know how to work through this, but she just kind of said, I said, well, describe to me how you feel in class, like what's going on? Because as I said, it's as if she was never here for some of the, now sometimes she's not here, but when she is here, she's not here, and clearly there's talking going on and whatnot. But I said, so when you're looking up at, you know, it's math time, what are you feeling? And she said, I look up and I'm not interested.
Really? My daughter's in law school right now, and Scout, everybody who gets to law school has to be pretty smart to get there, right? So it's a lot of people who are really smart in law school, and my daughter is hit for the first time. It's really hard for her. Truthfully, you're building your character right now. You're building that perseverance and that sense of I want to do my best.
Now, freeze. Look at that face right there. I know that face. That face is saying, this is
strategically cut off in the very last scene, but you all remember the opening of the movie that that essentially got to that point. That statement, I think, is a place I want to start today. That face that the girl is making, she's just a kid, but I think at some point we've all made that face relative to what it is that we try to do in school. And I'm a lover of school, so I don't want to start thinking that like this is all about tearing schools down. But at some point, we've all sort of been at that moment of wondering, you know, what is the point of this thing? I actually think that speaks to a moment that we're in. And I'm going to start with something super duper weird and really, really from left field. But like, since we're hanging out in the academy early mornings and we all drink our coffee with extra grounds, we're gonna start with something a little bit crazy that I've never really done before. So I don't know how you are feeling lately. I, with my partner here at the Center for Next Generation Leadership, Lou Young, wrote an article not very long ago where we just titled the whole thing "Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea," because it sort of feels difficult to lead schools right now. It feels that we are constantly in really difficult positions with really difficult choices, some extreme difficult choices relative to the pandemic, but we haven't pulled back from like the pandemic and come back to like it's all okay now and we're back to running schools as normal. Like that's not where we found ourselves. I don't know if it has been for you. If it has been, awesome, let's tell us in the chat. But I don't think most people are there. I think most people are still finding themselves in difficulty. And I want to try to capture the difficulty by looking really, 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 really high level. And I promise we won't do this for the whole academy, but I want to just get massively like satellite view of what is potentially going on here. We have a lot of reasons to be critical of schools, and I want to show you a few of those in just a second, but I'm going to explore this idea called meta-modernity, which is a time after postmodernism. We don't have, this is not a class on philosophy. Yes, I am a professor, but we're not going to get that crazy. But I am going to use this for a moment just to help us get a sense of both the moment in time where we're at and the project that is the deeper learning movement. Okay, so that's, there is a point to this, and it's going to feel weird for just a second, but I want to help sort of position us in time and in culture. And so this is one of the seminal books in this world. What I really, really like about it is this sense of a time between worlds. And I don't know if you feel that pull between worlds at times, but for me in my work, I feel like I'm sort of pretty frequently being pulled between worlds. So we're having some fun these days, right? Like, surely you all have been out there playing. I expect you have been. It is freaking remarkable. There is an amazing New York Times story, though, about how one of these chatbots tried to fall in love with somebody. And so you have to, it's a really interesting, complex time. You look back now at the movie Most Likely to Succeed, and the sort of pinnacle of technology was Watson beating Ken Jennings. And now that all seems a little bit silly. Like it's moving so fast that beating somebody at Jeopardy seems like a simple thing to do now. So that technology is continuing to push where we're comfortable with. We are in a period of really complex relationships. This is some recent stuff from here in the United States. We've got Florida is really pushing some boundaries these days. And there is a lot of complexity around race, a lot of complexity around gender, a lot of complexity around indigenous rights. And that complexity stems from a really honest place, a really important place, a postmodern place. Takes lots of different forms and lots of different pressures that we can feel, and lots of complexity around the teaching force. This is us in Kentucky. There's a lot of Kentuckians hanging out. We'll introduce ourselves all in a bit. Over in the chat, if you haven't introduced yourself so far, throw your name and a little bit about you in the chat, and then in a minute, Ben will get us off into getting to know each other a little more. But we went on strike as a public education system a few years ago. And there's just so much complexity around what it means to be a teacher in today's society. And then there's like crazy pressures like this one, which I'm sure you're all feeling, these post-pandemic test score declines and like this sort of sense of loss that has hit us all in this effort to try to regain some types of learning. All of that, I think, is part of what we can call a extremely legitimate criticism of the public education system that we know. And if you're here hanging out in the What School Could Be community, or you're curious about deeper learning, you're already operating from a place of criticality, right? Like, you're not probably in this room with us if you're comfortable with the way that most schools operate on a given day. I'll make that assumption, but I'm happy to be proven wrong over in chat. So you're here because these things don't feel right, and it feels like there might be a better way. But inside of that is really complex questions, really complex power dynamics. The questions of postmodernism are really important questions. The questions around feminism are really important questions. We want to, here in Kentucky, a great article just ran last week, I think, on both the lack of minority and female superintendents. I mean, we in Kentucky, I don't know how it feels to the rest of you, up at the very top of our public education systems, the superintendent job is still almost exclusively white male. And that, I think, there's some really important questions in that space for why we're still there. So there's lots of reasons to be critical, but I want to juxtapose that, though, against lots of reasons to be positive. One of the things that we are hyper clear about economically is the value of school. Like, school matters a lot when it comes to a future earnings in society. There's just tremendous value in what we do as education systems. We saw during the pandemic, like, this was a really interesting moment in time that I think, I don't know how much time, we were all in the midst of crazy. And so we probably didn't have time to really reflect on this moment, but society essentially demanded we reopen these things. Society felt tremendous loss as we closed our school buildings and put huge pressure on the school systems to retake that position that they have in society. Massive value. That's a huge value statement that society is showing to what schools offer. And then just generally, we as educators, we know that there are these moments, there's these reasons, there's good all around us in a school building. There's just good all around us. It's good for kids. They're learning, they're working together in groups, all of that sort of positivity that we see in a classroom on a given day. So we are really critical of our schools and simultaneously really understand the value in what it means to have our schools. I want to give you a sense of, for me, this thing has helped me understand a lot about where we are in society, and then maybe what the Deeper Learning Project is. All right, so I'm going to play just a clip from a long series of videos, and I've put the videos in our Padlet, and Ben's going to explain the Padlet in just a second. But I'm going to play just a little bit of a clip that speaks to this meta-modern moment.
What they have in common, according to Vermeulen and von den Akker, is, quote, a typically meta-modern oscillation, an unsuccessful negotiation between two opposite poles. This oscillation refers to the way this new postmodern sensibility seems to toggle back and forth between typically postmodern ideas and attitudes, which it maintains, and more typically modernist ones, which it reclaims. As they put it, ontologically, metamodernism oscillates between the modern and the postmodern. It oscillates between a modern enthusiasm and a postmodern irony, between hope and melancholy, between naivete and knowingness, empathy and apathy, unity and plurality, totality and fragmentation, purity and ambiguity. Each time the metamodern enthusiasm swings toward fanaticism, gravity pulls it back toward irony. The moment its irony sways toward apathy, gravity pulls it back toward enthusiasm. One could liken this oscillation to the way a floating LED message clock works. If you're familiar with these novelty gadgets, you know that the seemingly stable text hovering in the air is actually the product of lights attached to a pendulum, which is rapidly oscillating back and forth. Through this movement, something seemingly stable appears, though held up by nothing, and relying upon, though not reducible to, the two extremes it shuffles between. The result is a sort of paradox, stillness in motion, unity in and through polarity. So is it with metamodernism, and its relationship to postmodern and modern attitude.
Stop. That is just a very little bit of a taste. There's more in the Padlet, and I recognize that almost no one will go check this out, and that's fine. I don't really care. The meta-modern moment, I think, is a really good explanation for where we find ourselves in society, and more importantly, for our purposes in the academy, a really great sort of philosophical grounding for the project that is the Deeper Learning Project that has emerged. At this point, there's something out there at this point. There's a real thing happening in the world. There's a movement afoot. A bunch of you are going to be at High Tech High here coming up in a couple of weeks. It sounds like there are thousands of people, like they're gathering at this thing, at this place. And it's like, there is a recognition of something important. What I think we're doing is we're reclaiming a bit of the value of school, that we've spent a lot of time being critical, and we should be. I mean, schools are broken on many fronts. They are, the power dynamics, the postmodern questions don't have great answers as we think about our own tracking models. And we look at our data in terms of who's succeeding and who's not succeeding. I mean, we have schools designed for the outcomes that they're getting. So we should be asking really critical, really hard questions of school. Simultaneously, though, I think we must find the role for school. And school unquestionably has tremendous value in society. That's a thing that nobody seems to want to go away. And so we have to find a place for school in a postmodern critical world. I think deeper learning does that, but I'm curious how you all will react, because the spoiler alert here is this whole thing, what happens next is it's up to you. It's up to us. We shape the future. To the movie, and we'll close and move forward.
Right now, we are attempting to educate a generation of kids who will work in jobs that have not been invented yet. They will be called on to solve problems in a world so complex, we can't even imagine it. How do you design a school system that prepares kids for that? Over 100 years ago, the United States went from one-room schoolhouses to the robust industrial model we have now. It was a transformation that was nothing short of miraculous. Perhaps it's time for another transformation.
And that is essentially where the movie ends. With that question, is it time for another transformation? And ultimately, our work here in the Academy is going to play with that question. So we'll introduce the Academy and ourselves more in just a second, but that is the task that we have set for ourselves. The Most Likely to Succeed video asks these tremendous questions. The whole What School Could Be community is searching for answers to these questions. If you are part of the What School Could Be community, you know there's events going on every week that are giving us small snippets of what the future of this thing is. We're getting slices here and there. What I want to do with you in the Academy, and Ben and I think we can spend some time this spring in these little early morning sessions, is we need to weave together a broader narrative there are a lot of puzzle pieces that live in the What School Could Be community. There are a lot of things that we think we know work. The question that we wrestle with in the academies, and that we'll spend time on here in the What School Could Be Academy, is how do all the puzzle pieces fit together to essentially create a new stable thing that is sustainable. And our work in Kentucky, as we introduce ourselves, and we've got lots of Kentuckians in the room, we've been working at this for a while. And I think there is a sense of a new stable thing if you can start to move all the puzzle pieces. And that's what we'll explore together in the academy. Starting with postmodern philosophy team. I bet you've never had a PD do that before. All right, Ben, let's do some introductions. We'll introduce ourselves and maybe get them set off to work.
Yeah. Do you want to share the deck, or you want me to share this part?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll just keep sharing, but feel free to jump in and talk a little bit, especially about what school could be. And so
yeah, sure. While you're
first.
sharing, yeah, I'll just start talking about that. Yeah, so thanks for getting us started, Justin. That was good. So just to give you a little sense of sort of the way we're approaching this is that we're sort of taking these ideas we feel that are important, and we don't leave them at the, like Justin said, the satellite view or the 30,000 foot view. We're actually going to distill those down into what it means or what it looks like in school, but it gives us a common language. And it gives us structures and ways of thinking and looking at things. So you'll see reoccurring themes throughout our time together, where we sort of take these maybe heavy theoretical ideas, but we're going to distill those down into like almost classroom level language and classroom level behaviors and ways that we can talk about things. So the What School Could Be Academy was actually born out of a partnership between University of Kentucky and What School Could Be. And I had the fortune to work with Justin in 2015, 14, 15 with the UK Center for Next Generation Leadership. And I drove all over the state of Kentucky and learned about all the amazing things that are taking place in Kentucky. And so fast forward a couple of years, and I'm a fellow at What School Could Be. And I'm actually working as sort of the liaison between University of Kentucky and What School Could Be to sort of bring this academy to life. So we're sort of taking this idea of what was working in Kentucky and taking it global. So we have people joining us literally from all over the world. So we've changed the format a little bit to suit our audience, and we've changed it up also to suit an online format. So we have resources in What School Could Be. We sent out an invite for everybody to join the course that we've created in What School Could Be. So we're going to ask you to jump in there at different points to share information, to share your thoughts and ideas, etc., as well as access resources. So Justin?
Right, we'll introduce ourselves and we'll send you all off. So I'm a professor at the University of Kentucky, as if that you haven't been super clear about that in the first 15 minutes that I'm a professor. So, sorry, that was probably the most professor start I've ever done to one of these. But I've been part of a journey in Kentucky that has been awesome and spectacular, that has been really asking the what's next questions. And so our Center for Next Generation Leadership has consistently sort of focused on that question over the last, I think we're about year 14 years old or something like that. And so we've been working on this for a while, and to all the Kentuckians that are in the room, I'm super excited to be at this phase with all of you. In some ways, like passing off the frontline work to so many great educators that are working in community. That's my family, both my work family and my academic family. Next Gen has actually grown quite a bit. We need to get us a new photo shoot going on, because our team is about double that size now. And so that's sort of some of the work that I get to do. Over to you.
All right. So yeah, my name is Ben Sheridan. I am currently the founder and director of learning at 407 Learning, which is a professional learning consultancy company. I worked in schools for over 20 years. I worked in schools in the United States, and then I moved overseas with my wife, who is also an educator. She's a social-emotional counselor. And we've together have lived in Thailand, Cambodia, Korea, Indonesia, and India. We have 2 boys that joined us on our adventure, and one's in high school and one's in middle school. So super excited to be working with Justin again. And through my consultancy, I work with all different types of schools. So we work with like anything from UK public schools to international schools to Malaysian national schools, and then US public schools. So I'll share more about sort of what I've learned through that experience through the course of the academy. All right,
Ben
so
and I will do
format.
most of the-
Yeah.
Ben and I
Sorry,
will
go
do
ahead.
most of the work of the academy this spring. One of the things we're trying to do is like make it cost efficient. We will have a few friends join throughout the spring a few times, and we'll bring in a few external voices just to add more interest and flavor. But we also have a lot of expertise in the room. And so we will be hopefully relying a lot on you to help share a lot of the good stuff that's happening, practices that work, all of that kind of stuff. So but for the most part, this is going to feel a little bit more like a course than it's going to feel like some large scale year-long professional development. And for those in Kentucky know what I'm talking about. In our Kentucky Next Generation Leadership Academy, it's a year-long thing. This is shorter, faster, quicker, more like a course. I mean, it's just like, let's get in, let's get to work. All right, format.
Okay, so it's participatory, although like we haven't really modeled that as of yet. And I promise like this stretch of us talking will be the longest we do in the entire academy. But it is participatory. So we encourage you to, as you're thinking or we're saying things, jump in the chat, disagree with us, share ideas. I'm a firm believer in the smartest person in the room is the room. And as Justin mentioned, we are going to be asking you to share your thoughts. We're very interested in your thoughts. We're very interested in your ideas, your experiences, because you are the experts in your setting. So we're going to be taking ideas and then we're going to be working with those ideas together. And so the people in the room are going to learn as much from you probably in your setting as they can from us. So we want to create a respectful, supportive space. So we'll use like a yes and approach. Everything we have, we're putting on a Padlet. Anything we share, unless we note otherwise, you are free to take and reuse and share with whoever you like. So each session will be 90 minutes. It's a sprint, so it's meant to be quick and it's going to be focused.
I love the point about sharing. That is an actual agreement between UK Next Gen and the What School Could Be Academy. Part of the point of this is to create shareable resources and for you all to go do this work in your communities. This is not stuff that is copyrighted, protected. I mean, no, the community, we make it all available. It's in the Padlets, it's in the What School Could Be Academy course page. Take it and run. That's actually what we want you to do. So feel free to use anything we do in this entire academy in your own work, in your own spaces. All right, so today, like we just had a great meta modern opening. We're actually going to jump everybody into breakout rooms. They're going to be small because we're going to be introducing each other. We're going to start becoming friends with everybody. Then we're going to sort of go over a bit of an overview. Then we're going to jump into an activity. Then we're going to talk about the next Gen 9 and the science of learning. And you're going to hear us talk a lot about the science of learning throughout this academy because it's super bueno. We love it. But why don't you hit that next slide, Justin? And it is getting there. Yeah, it is getting there. It's
okay.
Having a moment.
It's having a moment. That's okay. All right, while we do that, I'll drop this in the chat. So take your phones, so your tablets, your iPads, whatever, and you can zap that QR code. I also dropped a link in the Padlet so that you also have it on, or I dropped the Padlet link in the chat. So you also have access to that. So you're going to need that for today's session. All right. And you'll see why in just a sec. Do you have it, Justin, or you want me to pull it up? So
yes.
Okay, so
I can share. Yeah. I can just share screen. Exactly.
Yeah, go. Yeah,
That's
sure.
fine.
Because we have the QR code right there on the Padlet as well. So We'll walk through this Padlet just quickly, and then we'll jump into breakout rooms. So each of our sessions together will be sort of run off a Padlet. So the Padlet's going to have all the resources we talk about, the deck from the day, and then we'll also actually add the recording to this space as well, so that those who aren't able to join us, or if you want to follow up with the team, you can share this with them. So everything we talk about today and the activities are going to be on here. It's sort of a back channel for our time together. So if you look,
look, I have articles on metamodernism and education. You can go read academic papers on that stuff that I opened with if you want. There are lots of great YouTube videos if you're really into metamodernism. I won't belabor it anymore. But look, all those resources, you could just spend the whole day on metamodernism. All right. Stop. I'll stop.
You could. You're right, Justin. But right now, what we want to do is we're going to ask you for like 3 minutes, just quickly jump into this column that says icebreaker and introductions. And we're going to just practice adding our name, our position, and where we are, and what our teaching superpower is. So if you notice, since I zapped that QR code with my is everybody on the Padlet? Drop us in the chat if you still need that Padlet. Okay, so if you zap that with your phone, yeah, you can add a selfie. Don't feel free. People don't like taking pictures of themselves. I don't either, but I had to model it. Take a picture of yourself or not. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what you do. Tell us what your teaching superpower is. We'll do that for like 3 minutes. And then I'm going to open up breakout rooms and send everybody in a room. But we're going to keep it kind of short. So about 5 minutes, I suppose, maybe a little bit longer, because it's important that we get to know each other and we kind of learn what we're doing and how we can support each other. So we'll give you time to go out and talk to each other. So I can see people on the Padlet typing away. And when I open the rooms, feel free. It's not like, you have to stop adding that to the Padlet. You seen anything pop up there, Justin?
There are lots of people working.
Awesome.
There's like a good 10 people that are actively opening Padlets right now. Good job, team. This is
Nice.
our sharing space that we're going to work in together. Padlet might be new to a lot of you. For me, it was relatively new in the fall working with Ben, but I have come to love Padlet as a great sort of PD management tool. And so hopefully you all will start to fall in love with this as a tool in your own work.
It's great because it not only acts as like a resource anchor, but it acts as a nice back channel as well. And then you actually, like, together we'll be creating content throughout the course, and then that co-created content will live in the space that we can continue to access going forward. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Sorry to, I always feel like the bad guy when I close those rooms, because most people are like in midstream, sharing, learning, getting to know each other, having fun. So apologies for that. I have to say, I was on the Padlet and reading through what people had posted on there, where they were from, what they were doing, what their teaching superpowers were. It was amazing. If you have time, please take time to look through there. I also noticed that comments weren't turned on, but I'll turn those on so you can comment, and there's like the little heart button. So show a little love to our friends. So Justin, anything before we jump back in? Anything that you overheard you want to share?
No, but I hope that you all get a sense pretty quickly, and just in the breakout that I was in, what we have in this academy this year is a different little layering. We have a whole bunch of people that are trying to help lead this work in sort of regional spaces. The Qatar Education Foundation is leading it countrywide, but it's a smaller country. But we have lots of folks who are PD leaders, essentially. So as you look around the room, I hope that you'll find some of those connections that resonate with you. Here in Kentucky, there's a big group of different PD leaders that are all working regionally, but the DC group is also being a PD leading group that tries to provide support to redesign in DC public schools. That's just a lot of who we have on the academy journey with us this year. So what we recognize is there's a lot of expertise in the room, and part of our job is to help you connect with other people who are doing amazing stuff just in different regions of the world. But we're all sort of engaged in the same global project to make our schools the more fair, more equitable, more meaningful, more relevant spaces that we all sort of want them to be.
Awesome. All right, so do you mind if I share quickly and take us into the next part?
Rock and roll.
All right. All right. Excellent. Okay, so just to give you an overall view of the sort of flow of the Academy, for those that just joined, I dropped the Padlet link in the chat. So go ahead and grab that Padlet. That's sort of our home base for today. We'll be using that going forward. We'll have a Padlet for each of our sessions together, and we'll share sort of more about where you can actually find all the Padlets, etc. We'll be meeting twice a week. We're going to give you some independent work, but it's not like homework. It will be work for you to explore further what we sort of discuss, what we dive into during the sessions. And then hopefully on the last day, we're going to have an exhibition of learning where people will actually share sort of the work that they've been engaging with. So like I said, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. And What School Could Be is really good about surfacing amazing things that are happening. But what we want people to do is take a step further. We want to know how and why is this work important for you, and how can we support you in getting started in this work in your setting. So we're not really interested in just talking about this awesome stuff. We're really interested in how you operationalize what we talk about and how you figure out how to take that first step. So like the What School Could Be motto, small steps to big change. So we want to actually look at what are the steps we're going to start to take. All right. Okay. So I sort of talked about that, and Justin mentioned there's a lot of leaders in here. There's a lot of PD facilitators. There's a lot of teachers. There's a lot of administrators. We are all here, and we all have influence in our own way. All right. So we're here to help each other understand that influence and then use that influence. All right. We're going to look for as many real life examples as we can. But like Justin said, we are really, really hoping that you all will share your experiences and what you are working on in your settings that actually will help others do that work as well. All right. So we're also going to ask you to identify your unique point of entry. And if you already have that point of entry and you're already on your way, we just want to help you understand what are the next steps we're actually going to be taking. All right. So we're going to be working on design. We're going to be working on implementation. We're going to be working on a strategic sort of plans going forward. All right. Anything else on that, Mr. Justin, before we move on? You want to talk about this, the structure of the 3 courses?
Yeah, so we designed this to lay out in sort of 3 sort of mini sprints. If you hung out with us, if any of you hung out with us in the fall, some of you did, like Ty and Michelle and Janelle. We're really loving the sprint format. In your own work, you might also fall in love with the sprint format. I think it works well for educators who are super busy and trying to do a million things. And so we're essentially going to run 3 small little sprints. We're starting off right now with sort of learning structures for deeper learning. We're going to get to the science of learning and move towards student agency. That's sort of what's next over the next 3 meetings together. Then we're going to spend 4 days on assessment, because if you only move the teaching and learning part, like you all, if you've been doing deeper learning work for a while, you have the experience of, we did an amazing PBL and it was a one-off and like kids were super happy and thrilled, but it didn't stick because we didn't have structures and we didn't have assessment around it. So we need structures, we need assessment models. That's why I'm saying there's puzzle pieces that must fit together for sustainability. So we'll lay out our work across these big domains, but you'll see inside of those domains are a lot of the smaller puzzle pieces that you're already working with.
All right. Evidence. We need evidence of impact, right? So when you have the evidence, it strengthens your argument. So that's the way I look at assessment. One of the ways. All right. So we have the What School Could Be community. Within What School Could Be, we have the What School Could Be Academy course. You've all been invited. If you didn't get an email or it got lost or sent to your spam, hop in your spam, look. If you didn't get it, don't worry, just ping Justin or I. I'm happy to take any of those logistical emails. I'll be sure and add you again. It's a sort of a repository space. We're going to be posting all the resources in there. Padlets as well. So like if you have the Padlet, you're golden. You have what you need. What we are going to be doing is actually asking you to jump into the What School Could Be broader community, and we'll be sharing some of our thoughts and our learnings in the broader community because we want to hear back from other people as well. So there's 12,000 people in that amazing community, all looking to support work in deeper learning. So we have this amazing hashtag that we'll be using in there so that we'll be able to sort of find each other in that sea of people. All right. All right. So now back into some of the science of learning. Now we sort of talked a little bit about this earlier, and what I love about this is it gives us really concrete ways of speaking about what it means when we talk about deeper learning in schools. All right. So in the most simple form, we're talking about a shift from behaviorist or behaviorism to constructivist or constructivism. Okay. And so we look at sort of, if you think about traditional schooling or traditionalist models, they're more situated in a behaviorist mindset. Okay. So that takes the assumption that, you know, children are blank slates that we must transfer knowledge into. You know, we have to take it and put it in there. So kids are passive learners. They just observe and they watch and they learn that way. Or that, you know, things are retained through reinforcement, sort of that drill and kill mentality. But if we move to a more constructivist approach, we understand that actually learning is a process and it takes place over time, and it's done by engaging in experiences and through relationships. All right. And so, and that learning is situated actually within a complex changing network called school, called life. All right. We learn everywhere, and school is very complex. But also that the learner constructs their own learning based on the experiences that they're engaging in. And so a lot of times you'll hear the term learning designer. So teachers are designers of learning experiences. And so they create an experience for students to engage in an activity or an experience to actually start to put together to construct new learning or construct knowledge. And also that learning is shared and social. All right. So let's situate this like inside a school. All right. What does this mean in a school? All right. So it looks like going from a school that teaches disconnected facts. You go here, you learn about math. You go here, you learn about social studies. You go here, you learn about English. No thread. All right. Toward a school where inquiry into meaningful problems and projects that connect different areas of the curriculum. All right. From a school that focuses on memorization. Let's regurgitate something. That isn't learning. We know that, right? Towards a school that focuses on exhibitions or demonstrations of learning. What evidence, what real world evidence do you have that helps me understand where you are in the learning process and how I can actually help you move closer to the outcome we're working towards? All right. And so moving from a school that's standardized, that has standardized modes of learning, everybody's doing the exact same thing, to a school that has multiple pathways or multiple opportunities or multiple modalities for students to engage with and as well as demonstrate where they are in their learning process. All right. And from a school where it's focused on individual work, all right, where consulting with others is cheating. You know, remember when I was little, I had, you had to put a folder up on your table to answer your questions so no one could see you, right? To a focus on collaborative work. Consulting with others is a major resource for learning. It's what we're doing right now, right? We're going to be tapping into each other's knowledge base, right? So it's tapping into that collective knowledge. And then finally, that view that a student's ability is fixed, all right? To a constructivist approach where we understand that opportunities to work with a diverse set of learners based on the understanding that children's ability is developed through rich learning environments, through rich learning experiences, and through strong supportive relationships. All right, so that's moving from a behaviorist sort of antiquated model toward a more constructivist sort of mindset where we construct meaning, we construct learning through relationships and experiences. All right. And so we want to know what you think about this. We want to know what your thoughts on this, this idea of we're moving from an antiquated or behaviorist model of education toward a more constructivist model where knowledge is created through relationships and experiences, and creating those or designing these experiences for kids to engage with learning through multiple methods, multiple modalities, etc.
And as we are going to send you out into breakout rooms again, just to wrestle with that, one of the things I actually think let's test out our ability to share with each other. In our work of leading deeper learning, we all have to tell that from to story, right? Like that's hopefully doesn't feel like a new kind of story to you. You're probably in the business of telling the from to story. And so one of the things that I'd be super curious for you all in breakout is to talk with each other about how you tell the from to story, in addition to what lives in the from to story, right? I think that that's just a critical part of leading deeper learning. All deeper learning leaders have to help tell that story. What's in it, and then how do you do that work of sharing would be a great discussion for you all to have out into breakout.
All right, so we do have a spot on the pad. Let me show you real quick for you to record your thoughts if that works for you. So right here, we have a from toward column. And so we have from a school that's stuck in the behaviorist model toward a school that's more of a constructivist approach. So as you think about this, think about in your setting, can you identify a current behaviorist approach that you might shift towards a more constructivist approach? So take a second to think, we all have this behaviorist, we engage in behaviorist, approaches to teaching and learning. Sometimes they're not all bad. Sometimes you need that, right? But what can we shift to a more constructivist approach? So as we send you into breakout rooms, if it works for you, go ahead and record. You might assign someone in your group to be the recorder, to record just what it is you're thinking about, what it is you're talking about. Don't feel like pressured you have to. It's just a way for us to engage in other people's thinking when we can. So I'm going to open up breakout rooms again, but before I do that, I want to ask quickly if anybody has a question on process or a question about what we're asking you to do right now in breakout rooms.
I think we're good. Let's use the same breakout rooms. And there's already little relationships going. Let's let that unfold. And definitely, if the room was like what I was in the first time, and you're all out there doing this kind of PD, share around how do you do this kind of storytelling. That's a really valuable thing to share with each other. Welcome back, everyone. I was bouncing around through rooms, so I'm sorry when I pop in and out of rooms, but I love to see how much great stuff is going on. This is going to be a heck of a lot of fun. I guess I want to use the word semester. These sprints are going to be a lot of fun with all of you because there's so much expertise in the room from so many different places that I'm really excited about what I was hearing. So sorry, Ben. That was great.
No, that was great.
No, that was great. Just hanging out with you guys.
I know I want to jump in, but I gotta have to monitor the main room. But I do appreciate someone wrote on the Padlet, in our deeper learning work, we are coaching and supporting districts that range from those that are clinging to the behaviorist model to districts that are working cohesively and bravely toward a constructivist model, plus everything in between. And so they do say that also that most want the constructivist model, but struggle knowing how to get there. And I think that's sort of like why we're here, right? That's why we're together. So amazing. So did Justin, sorry, you moved. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. One of the questions was around this kind of from to storytelling. And I heard great stuff going on about that. And you can see where Ben in his own work out there working with schools, there's a from to slide. And in the Padlet below that, the one that we were just working on, is the from to slide for the new grammar of school from Jalmeda and Sarah Fine's work in search of deeper learning. And so if you're looking for sort of the authoritative source on that from to story, I would point you to that table. That's the starting table for a lot of the the work and storytelling that we do in terms of like what's changing here and trying to help people understand what's changing.
And I think that it's good language because it's language that's, easy for us to understand. And it's easy for us to situate within a school. So it helps when you are building that sort of context for people for the impetus for change. All right, we are about 17 minutes away, Justin, from the end of the sprint. So we got way more than 17 minutes of content left that we could share. So what do you feel that you want to get into here in the remainder of our time together? You're muted.
The main thing we need to do is ground the academy. So what is the work that we're going to do together over the course of these sprints? And I want to ground it in two big things that one of which is more important than the other, but I'll reference you a little bit to the first of those things. So I'm going to hop back into share, and I'll just share a few things that we work on. So in terms of this grounding, where is this whole work going to come from? The main thing that lives in our world in Kentucky, and so to the Kentuckians in the room, this is the Next Gen 9, just in a fancier package. We have a new graphic design expert that works at Next Gen, and so like we get prettier logos and stuff now. And so the Next Gen 9 has informed our work in Kentucky. Kentucky is about a decade or more into the work of leading deeper learning across the state. We have people in the room who have been at the front lines of that work. Former Superintendent James Nyhoff, leading some of the deeper learning work at GREC, is one of our regional deeper learning teams. Like the work that happened under his leadership in Shelby is outstanding, and we'll try to bring that work into the academy experience as much as we can. And we have many of you in the room that are actively doing it. So for us, we've been working on it for a long time, and we've grounded it in the Next Gen 9. There are both design principles for learning, and we're going to focus on those. And so when I'm talking about puzzle pieces, like these 5 puzzle pieces over here must go together, in that you have to have sort of a broader vision of graduate competencies. What is it that we want kids to know and be able to do? What are the skills that they're going to need to function in this crazy undefined workforce? Got to sort of be clear about what we're trying to achieve. Then you've got to implement all the great deeper learning structures. We're starting with that over the next couple of days in the academy, the projects, the student voice, the agency, getting to authenticity, cultural relevance, listening more to kids. You can see how important that is. We're going to sort of end our first sprint on a task to go talk to some kids, or at least coalesce some data around kids. But you have to have the assessment piece also. Like this whole thing won't hold together unless we also bring assessment along for the journey. And we've got to strengthen our teaching culture, a much more professional teaching culture, where teacher is the designer of learning on an ongoing basis. But for us in Kentucky and for this work, the other side, the equity of opportunity structures, are critical pieces of the puzzle. The sort of cultural relevance, the curriculum that makes sense to kids where they're coming from in their own backgrounds. Access and inclusivity, trying to do as much of this work for as many of the kids as possible sort of together, versus trying to do a lot of the separating that we like to do traditionally in education. Positive restorative communities, you probably have a sense of that. And then a whole lot of just social emotional strength and building. Now, these Next Gen 9 are going to ground a lot of the work that we do, because those are puzzle pieces. But those puzzle pieces very, very tightly align, like incredibly tightly align, to what we know about the science of learning and development. We did a whole sprint on this in the fall. A few of you joined for that sprint. We linked up some of that stuff in the What School Could Be community. And so if you just want to go see what, a couple of days exclusively on the science of learning and development looks like, you can go do that. But what is super critical about the science of learning and development for grounding our academy is this is the best work that we have seen across a variety of domains that have really tried to hone in on how is it that kids are actually learning and developing. And what should schools be doing to sort of support optimal learning and development amongst children? That shaping takes a shape that looks extremely like a deeper learning model school. And so as we move forward through our work together, we're going to be referencing the science of learning a lot, because in your work going out there as professional development leaders, as school leaders, you have to be able to explain why this approach is the superior approach versus the traditional approaches, that from to. And so the science of learning really now underpins these moves that schools are making towards deeper learning. So we'll explore that in a lot more detail. There are great videos around that. I think this one is super short, so we'll just start with that if you're unfamiliar with it.
Came together to answer a question. What science should we pay attention to in order to understand how learning happens?
The science of learning and development is really an attempt to synthesize a huge body of knowledge that's accumulated over many, many years from the learning sciences, from psychology and anthropology and brain science, and put all of that together and understand how people, in fact, develop, and what else, and how they learn.
There are a few core principles that define all of human development. The first is malleability, the unique property of the brain to change in response to relationships and experiences. Neural tissue is the most susceptible to change of any tissue in the human body. When children are born, their brains are not fully developed. The development of the brain actually continues into young adulthood. It is relationships and experiences that drive the development of the brain. If children have the experience of adversity, they will have uneven development of foundational skills like self-regulation, relationship skills that are prerequisites for more complex skills like perseverance and self-direction. These are the children who are at risk to fall further and further behind. But what's most interesting is that a child can become a productive and engaged learner from any developmental starting point, as long as we intentionally build those skills.
Turn to your table group and discuss this. Come up with a statement.
When we're able to combine social, emotional, affective, and cognitive development together, we are creating many, many more interconnections in the developing brain that enable children to accelerate learning and development.
Okay, so that is just a taste. Those videos, of course, are all in the Padlet. And we'll reference the science of learning a lot this semester. And so your task between now and Thursday, if you have a little bit of extra time, would be to go see what this thing is and get a sense of this document. In particular, the thing that we love the most is, of course, I love, and those that joined for the Science of Learning Spring and the Fall know how much I love the peer-reviewed articles, the science, the neuroscience that's going on. But we also understand that not everyone really loves the deep science. Most people that work with us in schools just want to know, what does this look like in action? What do you actually do in a building to unlock what we know about the science of learning? And as you dive into this playbook, this Design Principles for Schools, which is a playbook, each one of these things is a clickable component. So since I'm screen sharing here, we can go and show you how this all lives in our Padlet together, right? So we're working over here, we're in the Design Principles for Schools. And so between now and next time, if you have time, this document I would recommend you take a little bit of a gander at. These puzzle pieces all open up and then really go deep. So each one of these things allows you to check out the sort of deep access. Sorry, it's not clicking as well as I want. in terms of like this development of skills, habits, and mindsets, right? When you put together your portrait of a graduate, you put together that sort of beautiful document that you say, I want these things for kids, which many, 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 many deeper learning schools do. Okay, so how do we actually engage in the development of those skills, habits, and mindsets that you all are saying that you want? It has examples from schools. It has lots of sort of the background science that lives behind it. I love that particular image right there, for instance. What the science says and boiled down, right? Like super clear, like articulations of what the science says, and then towards what schools can do. And right, so we're in the What School Could Be Academy. And so this kind of space is where we're going to spend a lot of our time in terms of what can schools do, in terms of trying to help build some of those skills. All right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I think,
yes.
yeah, no, that's great. No, I think, you know, you can tell that we get really excited about this. And I think one of the reasons we get excited about it, it's oftentimes, you know, if we have time, we'll do this, or once we're done with this real learning, we'll get to that. And so it's not what schools could do, it's what schools should do. And so why we get so excited about the science of learning is it actually gives us the language and the deep knowledge to have that discussion and say, it's actually what we know about the science of learning tells us this is what we should be doing. It's not a nice to do, or it's not a, if we get time, let's do this. This is how it should be done, because science tells us that's the most efficient and effective way for children to engage in learning. So that's sort of why we geek out so much on that, because it gives us a really strong base to speak from.
So that is just
Yeah,
one of the foundations. Exactly. So let's move us forward. Up next, coming up, is moving forward from this foundation, the from to foundation, to what does this look like for learning. So we will talk PBL, and we get back together on Thursday and why that's such a great structure. We need to pull that apart to understand why it's such a great structure. PBL has become sort of this packaged idea that you know, has to live together like as a package, and PBL Works has done a great job, and others out there of packaging the idea, but sort of unpacking it and understanding what's valuable in it is sort of what we'll do coming into next time. And that will be as we move towards Thursday. After that, we're going to turn our attention to student voice and agency in learning, some of the personalization piece, as we sort of work through our sort of learning for deeper learning sprint that gets us kicked off.
Cool. Oh, I just shared it as soon as you're finishing there. All right, so
Yeah.
we're gonna end today with a little activity, because if you've joined us before, you know we actually tweak what we do on Thursday based on your feedback from today. And so we want to know, what did you connect with? What are the ideas or information that we shared today? What you already knew, how did you connect with those? All right, and what new ideas sort of are starting to bubble up from our discussions, from your discussions with all our new friends, from what people put on the Padlet. And thank you so much. I see there's actually a bunch of stuff been added to the Padlet. I can't wait to dive into it. How has it pushed your thinking in new directions? And finally, what is a challenge currently for you? So what have we talked about that is challenging? Is it challenging for you to accept, challenging you to think about, challenging you for you to try and implement certain things in your setting? You know, whatever that might be. So if you notice on our Padlet, we have 3 spots for a Connect Extend Challenge. So that's sort of your exit ticket for today, is to jump back onto the Padlet and just let us know, what did you connect with today? What did you already knew? What maybe you were reminded of? What's getting you excited? What's extending your thinking? What's broadening your understanding? You know, are you thinking about things in new ways? And then what challenges, what puzzles are emerging for you? What's challenging for you at this time? Just share your thoughts on that Connect Extend Challenge. If you're like, I can't do it right now, that's fine. We can come back to it later. Like I said, the Padlet will be live forever going forward. And then on Thursday, we'll dive into a little bit more about how to kind of keep this conversation going between sessions in our shared space, et cetera, et cetera. And then I think we got 2 minutes left. So if we let everybody go 2 minutes early, Justin, we'll be heroes. But what do you have to share before we send everybody off? Yeah,
it's lovely. I'm excited to meet all of you. I didn't get to hang out with all of you in breakouts. I do want to get to know more about everyone and all the work that you're doing. There's so much great stuff from different places, and the real expertise is the room. And so this time we had to do a lot of foundation setting, but when we get back together on Thursday, like, we're going to get more into the work and give you all a lot more time in breakout to sort of work on the puzzle pieces, and then talk about how we as leaders and professional development leaders in particular help others make sense of all of this and actually go do real stuff in the world. So the Academy is definitely a thing that's meant to do something in the world. And so as we move forward, I'll share more, but I do want to end this whole Academy experience with you sharing how you're helping do things in the world. And lots of you are leading PD. So for many of you, that's going to be like, here's some of the PD that we're actively trying to build to help others.
Yes. Thank you all for your time and attention on this. What is today? Tuesday? Yeah. Well, wow. Tuesday was a great day. I have to say, you're all at the beginning. I'm at the end. It was a great day. So you have a lot to look forward to. So thanks so much for joining us. And we'll see you on Thursday.
See you then.